Today we focus on Nigeria's opposition politics, defections, divisions, and fragile coalition that raise a critical question. Can a fragmented opposition truly topple the APC in 2027? Now, despite mounting economic and security challenges under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the People's Democratic Party, Labour Party, NNPP, and ADC remain mired in internal crisis as defection and leadership tussle continues to ravel. Now, what once looked like a competitive race now risks becoming a walkover, according to some. The PDP is bleeding governors, the Labour Party is fractured after Peter Obi's exit, the NNPP has lost its Kano stronghold, and the ADC coalition of heavyweights is already straining on their competing ambitions. The arithmetic is pretty much clear. Unity may have to topple or trump personal ambition if the opposition hopes to mount a credible challenge. Now, joining me to discuss this is Judge Turner. He's the Secretary of the People's Democratic Party's South Zone. He joins virtually from Bayelsa State. I also have Marcel Enegbohi, is the Director General of the Directorate of Mobilization and Integration, Labour Party. And joining the conversation also is Kenneth Nweke. He's a Professor of Politics and Governance. He joins also virtually from Rivers State. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, and good evening.
All right, good evening. Let me start with you, Professor. Now, looking at opposition politics right now in Nigeria, I mean, I gave some instances of many of these, what I call it, frontline opposition parties having their own internal squabbles and struggles and challenges, which, of course, we've seen defections from, happen to within the members of some, and also court cases upon layers of court cases. So I'm going to put it to you. There are hands pointing to the involvement, alleged involvement of the ruling party. But so far, looking at our democratic, what I call it, structure at the moment, and the role of opposition, would you also want to follow the rhetoric that the opposition is pretty much docile, dead?
Yeah, of course, opposition may not be docile as anybody would want to describe them, but again, it is made up of Nigerians, and Nigerians, being what they are very, very gullible, very susceptible to all kinds of manipulations and all of those.
Professor, you said, you said Nigerians are very gullible. Very
gullible, yes.
What do you mean by that?
Very little things move them. Very little things move them. So you imagine a two-time governor defecting. What are you defecting for? A two-time governor probably who has benefited immensely from his political party, the political platform that gave him, the 2 terms. So why defect? So little things push them around. And so if it is not money, of course, such a governor, money is not what is pushing him. Maybe fear of the unknown. Fear.
So Nigerians, sorry, Professor. So Nigerians in this context of your explanation are the politicians, not the general public.
No.
Okay.
Nigerians, politicians, followers alike.
Are gullible.
Ordinary Nigerians, ordinary voters, all put together, everybody gullible. But the gullibility is more amongst the political class. Even those who are following, they are as gullible as those that they are following, because those that they are following, come back to them to make them leaders tomorrow. And so they are all the same. Both those who are in the ruling party today, we are not in the ruling party yesterday. They were in the ruling party yesterday. Today they are in the opposition party. Yesterday they were in the opposition party. Today they are in the ruling party, and all of those. So the level of gullibility, of Nigerians is so much that little things move them. If money does not move them, power moves them. If power does not move them, fear of the unknown, that if I leave office, and I can be probed, and they can send institutions, anti-graft agencies against me and all that. And so the more I join them, the better for me, the softer landing for me and all of those. And so everybody is gullible here, not even including the opposition, members of opposition and all of those. They are the same people. They are Nigerians. They still carry the same green passport that you and I all have, in the same attitude, everything the same.
Professor, I'm gonna have to butt in here to, of course, bring in Marcel Ngogbehi. He is the Director General of the Directorate of Mobilization and Integration, Labour Party. He's a member of the opposition. You said everyone is gullible, according to you, Professor. So I'm going to put it to you, Marcel. Are you also part of those that are gullible? I mean, you are a politician yourself. You belong to the opposition.
A billionaire walked into a car showroom in disguise. The salesman insulted him, thinking he was poor.
Let's make it clear. I'm not a politician. I'm more of a technocrat, and I look at things critically. So, in one of my sessions at London Business School, there is this course we did that's called Path to Power. And one of the things we agreed in the general, after the whole debate, is that good people don't usually get to power because they don't do what needs to be done to get to power. So, one thing came out: when you are vying for a position like Aso Rock, a lot of people want that seat. So it is a game of who is your major contender to that seat. So what I think the opposition has not done, basically, is to do a critical strategic analysis of who the opposition is, and then come up with strategies to probably deal with that opposition. Look at President Tinubu, for instance. He started his career in 1992, and President Tinubu has moved through political parties by mergers and acquisition. He didn't switch parties. He built a party, consolidated it, and moved AC, ADN, and all that up to APC. So it was purely through mergers and acquisition, right? And that is like consolidating upwards. Whereas what you see in some opposition is they switch from party to party. They don't build parties. They just see party as a vehicle. And for someone like Tinubu that have understood party politics and party mechanisms, Tinubu took time to understand how party works. And party has internal democracy, constitutions, and all the legal things around it. And for you to use any party as a vehicle, you need to be sure that the party is structurally sound and legally strong, stability-wise. So what Tinubu has done over the years is to build parties that are structurally sound, legally sound, and use it to vie for his political game. Whereas what the opposition has been doing is they treat parties as vehicle, they buy parties, they sell parties, they move from one party to the other without consolidating. So the challenges you are having now is your opposition understands this game, understands party politics, and also understands the evil part of it to cause troubles in parties. He knows how to move things around. And then you have an opposition that doesn't have what I would call a center of gravity. So if you look at what happened in 2023, before the elections, people were aggregating around three major candidates, Peter Obi, Tinubu, and Atiku. But the center of gravity for most Nigerians were Peter Obi. So they rallied around him and everybody came around him. Now ask yourself, how many months to elections? Who is the center of gravity? So what you have is opposition politicians that are building personalities rather than coming together to build institutions, rather than coming together to negotiate power and agree among themselves on who to push forward. Rather, they are all, you have the Kwankwasia, you have the Video movement, you have the articulators, and Mechi is also coming up. So they are all building their own small islands without really coming together to quickly make up their mind to say, who are we going to put forward as the center of gravity? And by the time they get to that level, it will be too late for them because the opposition you have is very strong. The main ruling party, you have someone that's very strategic that understands party politics. So I would not blame Nigerians. Nigerians are there, but I will blame the leaders of the oppositions that do not understand the person or the personality that they are up against. APC have their problems, right? But they find a way to solve it among themselves. You remember the Ganduje, how Ganduje was removed swiftly, the Shetima issue. You know, they come together, they rally around a center of gravity, Tinubu, and they work themselves out. Now,
so myself,
you wouldn't say because they are in power, because when they took over from PDP, they also did the same thing. They rallied around Buhari and then built the structures around him, looking at his 22 million votes, and then they tried to get something else from the other parts of the country too. So it is a strategic thing. And I do not see any of the opposition leader thinking in that direction, or even at any level near that level of thinking.
So in a way, you certainly align with the gullibility, quote and unquote, theory of Professor.
No. I don't think it's a game of gullibility for Nigerians. It's just a game of, you have opposition political leaders that are selfish and building private empires rather than looking at the country as a whole and coming together to form a consensus strong enough to beat the party. And then secondly, the party that they are using to run is also an issue. They didn't clean up where they need to clean up early enough. Look at the case of ADC. ADC was transiting from one particular leadership to another. What is the process? What is their constituency? Did they open themselves up for litigation? They would have tidied up all these knots, make sure that they are foolproof. But they allowed it, and I tell you, politics is a game of interest. If you open up your flank, and I will exploit your flank, you don't blame me. The similar thing happened with the Labour Party. After the 2023 elections, all they needed to do was to maintain that center of gravity and build around that center of gravity. But again, selfish interest comes in. Everybody wants to be chairman, and then decisions were made, and the crack was open.
Marcel,
then you don't blame opposition if they leverage it.
All right, Marcel, thank you very much. We'll go on our first break. I mean, your analysis, for some watching, they might say, it reminds them of some, what I call it, pages within the book, 48 Laws of Power, or The Prince,
exactly,
where you talk about understanding your adversary. But I have a couple of questions, though. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Why do Japanese families pay £31 for electricity, while British families pay £400?
Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are looking at the role of the opposition, particularly in the year of 2027, and all of the rhetoric and reactions around it. Well, joining the conversation right now is Professor Simeon Nna. He's a public affairs analyst. He joins virtually from Lagos. I still have my guest with me. I have, of course, Professor Kenneth Nweke. He is, of course, a part of the conversation right now, and Marcel Ngogbehi is the Director General of Directorate of Mobilization and Integration, Labour Party. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Now, let me come to you, Professor Nna. Professor Nna, I know that on this program we've had several conversations as regards the role of opposition, how viable they still are in lieu of 2027 general polls. But I would also want to bring the issue of strategy right now. Before we went on the break, Marcel actually did paint, well, I call it a descriptive picture of why it appears the opposition lacks strategy. Is this the case?
I didn't hear him, so I don't know the picture he painted. However, I would like to say that the opposition today lacks strategies because we're not seeing the banter the way it's supposed to be. We were here in 2023 when or 2015 rather, when this current party, APC, the ruling party, was in opposition. And El-Rufai now, who is in opposition, said something when they were critical of all policies, and even when government does it right, they will still come out and say something, and people started querying him. Why are you always criticizing? He said, no, their duty is to criticize the government in power. It is a duty of the government in power to tell them what they have done. They are not going to be telling people what the government in power has done. Having said that, if you compare what happened then with what is happening now, you will discover that the opposition is not doing what they ought to do. Because there are so many things that the government is doing wrong. And
is it a situation of the opposition being just docile, or the opposition really met with problems? For instance, quite a couple of all these opposition political parties have series of legal hurdles to contend with in terms of who exactly controls the party, who is the rightful leader of the party. We have a couple of them like that who are trying to navigate all of that. And then there's also the issue of funding to infiltration, according to or as alleged by some of the members, from the ruling party. So when you look at all of this, one would want to say to some extent, maybe it's justifiable, some sort of justifiable distraction.
Well, if you look at it from that point of view, that's your view, but I still maintain that the opposition should at least say something when things are going wrong. I keep on saying here that there are several policies of assault with this administration. These are issues that the opposition can latch on and begin to attack the government. Yes,
but we've also seen the likes of Peter Obi being vocal on social media on some of these issues.
Yes, but it's just an individual. It is not the party. It's not an individual, always coming out to say one thing or the other. But others are not doing that much. Even Atiku is not doing that much. Yeah, there are flashes from Atiku once in a while. I wonder what their aides are doing, because their aides are the people that are supposed to be doing it, even though these aides are supposed to be doing the things he's doing. So I agree with you that they have a lot of challenges here and there. I have said it time without number. I remember in one of the studios, I said it and they said, that they have not seen Jacob Oiso. Because what we are seeing here is the hand of Jacob and the voice of Esau. We agree. I was watching one of the aides of APC today in one of the television stations defending why there are problems in other political parties. You see, it is a known fact that the APC has tried to make this nation a one-party state. And you see, it's because we don't take account of history. I keep on saying, those who don't take account of history will either become history themselves, or history will not forgive them. See, if you let us even start from the first, what do you call it now? From the first time we had democracy, and that was in 1960. We had the NCNC, we had the Action Group, and we had the political party from the North. Now, the NCNC had issues. K.O. Mbadiwe had issues with Nnamdi Azikiwe. Now, what the Prime Minister did then was to resolve the matter, not to, show the guy way to come and join his own political party. Now, the issue there was that he called them together, and when he saw that he couldn't resolve the matter easily, because Nnamdi Azikiwe insisted as a president that K.O. Mbadiwe should be removed as a minister. Then they were not called ministers, they were called federal commissioners.
All right.
He removed them and brought him in as removed him as a minister and brought him in as an ambassador plenipotentiary. And that was the first time.
I'm going to come back to you, Professor. Professor Na, I'm going to come back to you. Please hold on. I would like to, of course, take the conversation to, Professor Nweke. Professor Nweke, you permit me to use the word. You came up with the theory of gullibility, saying that Nigerians are gullible across board, from the political class to the general public. Everyone appears to be gullible. But I'd also want you to talk on the issue of strategy too, and the opposition here. You gave your reasons why you feel that gullibility, particularly within the political space, seems to thrive. But again, you'd also want to look at some of the challenges that many of these opposition parties are facing, given what we used to know and what their reality is right now. Will you say in any way that, in a way, might be some sort of, well, I call it excuse for why, according to you, maybe they are not as viable?
Of course, they are more than old enough to understand the essence of strategy. Very good strategies, like the other speaker before the professor came. You know, he took time to talk about President Tinubu and his political journey so far. So it's about strategy, like it's also said. He has not moved. It's either he's emasculating or it's merging, and all of those acquisition. Let me use his word. You know, and so what? The opposition that we have even today. Let's not get it wrong here. You see, the strategy that APC used in 2015 to win the election is not the same strategy that the opposition today is using, unfortunately.
People keep asking if this is a scam, so I'm going to prove it's not with actual science. My name is Hiroshi Tanaka.
And also note that most of the political parties, most of the politicians like Rotimi Chibuike-Amechi, El-Rufai, and all of those who were governors, use those platforms to move into a position to strengthen opposition in terms of resources, in terms of formidable opposition and all of those. But today, that's not what is happening. You know, so, and then they were able to consolidate based on the support from the present president and then the Buhari, elements. They all came together with the governor forum breakaway. So to say, those who became dissident from the previous parties and other. And so they were able to, strategize, to sell the change mantra to Nigerians. So, and that's also what, when I talk about gullibility of Nigerians, which the other speaker said it's not. You see, Nigerians are easily bought over. Little things sway Nigerians. So that little, this little strategy that the opposition in 2015, adopted, swayed a lot of votes in favor of the opposition. But that's not the same case today.
But sorry, before we go on this break, you keep making reference to a particular strategy that the ruling party did use in 2015 to sway votes. Can you be more specific? What strategy was that?
Of course, they saw, they tapped, they leveraged on the sufferings of Nigerians so much, and they were able to sell the story. The messaging was very, very clear. The messaging, moved very deeply into the marrows of Nigerians because it was the obvious. And so it is not also that it's different from what is happening today, but it is, the messaging is different. Their strategies are different because while you had more states or more state governors who were defecting to the opposition to strengthen them, today you have those even from opposition going to the ruling party to even strengthen the ruling party. And so the messaging is different. The strategies are different. Nigerians are also tired of the same style of messaging. Of course, the same people who are coming to tell us about how these ones are using us today. But the same persons who sold these ideas in the past. And so it's difficult for Nigerians to believe them because the lies that were peddled, and votes were swayed against Nigerians. Today, those are still same lies. And so Nigerians will be very, very difficult to believe anybody anymore. And so, and they will say, oh, all of them are the same. So what are you selling to us and all that? The ruling party today is the same. The opposition party, the same. The only person that is different among them, let me tell you, is Peter Obi, because Peter Obi has prepared himself for governance. He has prepared, he's one person. I may not be his supporter, but I believe that he has worked so hard. He has developed himself academically. He has developed himself all round to prepare for governance, unlike any of them, that is in the position today who want to grapple with power. If you ask me, Nigerians will still have that same confidence in P2B.
All right, Professor
today.
Nweke. Professor Nweke, you said a lot of things, but one thing I think I'll pick out of it is the fact that you said you sort of painted a picture of our political landscape evolving in terms of the strategy being used in 2015 and what is obtainable now. When we return from this break, I would also look at how, will I call it, according to some, how it appears our political system and electoral system appears to be heavily monetized or induced. We'll look at this issue when we return. Stay with us, we'll be right back. I still have Marcel Ngogbe, the Director General of Directorate of Mobilization and Integration for the Labour Party. I also have, of course, with me on the program this evening, Professor Kenneth Nweke and Professor Simeon Nna. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Now, let's talk about what I call it inducement versus ideology. I mean, well, unfortunately, for some Nigerians and for observers of what I call it most recent or recent political trajectory, it appears inducement seems to play a very key role. I mean, just recently, a certain group affiliated with, a certain political figure was doing massive giveaways, right? And even though some will say maybe it's directly or indirectly, related to 2023 general election, but it was huge giveaways. And we saw people come out in torrents to receive these branded giveaways. So my question to you right now is, Marcel, do Nigerians still believe in political ideology? Or do we now have a situation whereby poverty has been weaponized such that people just want to grab what they can grab now and then vote for who they may consider the highest bidder? This question will be for the three of you, but let me start with you, Marcel. 30 seconds.
There's nothing happening now that any strategic person wouldn't have seen from 2023 after the election that is not going to happen now. The person you have that is Nasrallah, like I said, understands the game very well and probably have a lot of strategic people around him that he listens to. Okay, so I wouldn't come down to blame Nigerians, because Nigerians are the gold that all politicians want to get their vote from, but at a slightly higher level are the political class. So if I am competing against you from a strategic point of view in the same market, I will be prepared, knowing the kind of person you are, and I'll match you in whatever game you can. I will look forward to even upstaging you in that game. My point still remains that Nigerians are at the receiving end. I mean, I came from the civil society's background, and I understand the suffering from the ground. But again, who can save them? It is the politicians that understand this game that can save them. If I take you back a little bit, okay, in 2023, when I was elected as a leader of the BDM movement, one of the things we made up our mind to do is to do what we call the first movers advantage. So by 2022, we started making noise for P2B. We moved forward, we occupied the space, we shaped opinions, we went to the street. That was a strategy. And because we knew that the president at that time was leaving, so the coast was clear, there's no power of incumbency, so we need to take the center stage. So the question is, do not think that the current occupants of Aso Rock, Tinubu, is the same as the person that occupied Aso Rock in 2015 when there was a switch from a ruling party to a non-ruling party. They are two different characters entirely. They came with two different capabilities generally. So my point still remains that the opposition political parties needs to up their game.
All right.
It's not about Nigerians. It's about the political class in the opposition coming together, shielding their selfish interest and working towards the goal of relieving this country of bad leadership. As long as they keep running after their personal interests, building empires and thinking, and none of them is ready to give room or make compromises, then they are invariably just working for the opposition.
All right, Professor Nna,
sorry, for the ruling party.
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Nna, the question also directed to you, inducement over, versus political ideology here. Do Nigerians still believe in political ideology?
No more pricking your finger to measure blood sugar. Just purchase once and enjoy a lifetime of.
Nigerians thinking of political ideology, I will say a no to that. However, before I dive into that, let me correct an impression. It was not the NPC administration of the First Republic that made KO ambassador extraordinaire. It was the Shagari administration. That's the Second Republic. But they had issues with Zik in the First Republic that was resolved by the NPC. That's settled. So let me dive into the question you asked. See, I agree entirely that Nigerians are gullible. There are no two ways about it. If you saw what happened, last week, where, what is it called again? The Tinubu boys, or whatever they are called, moved into to give what they call palliatives. People were falling head over heels on each other just to collect something. And when one of the parks was opened, not the refrigerators or whatever, the people that were given food packs, it was filled with Indomie and whatever. Just 1 liter of oil was what was different. So you see, is this what somebody will take for 4 years? And we keep on telling them this, they don't understand. Yes, the ruling class themselves are the culprits, major culprits. However, if you look at the trajectory now, with the kind of funds that this administration has, it is difficult for any opposition to fight them. Like somebody was saying, you give them, what they have, fight them maybe fire for fire. It's a money thing. And this administration have made so much money. And the question is, where are these monies going to? Recall that one of the governors that moved over to APC recently did say that the governors that are in APC are receiving more funds than them. So he needed more funds to run his government. And that was one of the reasons he gave. And those of us know, for instance, I can tell you succinctly that the Bauchi state governor said he's moving over to this, and we learned that the agreement is that he's going to nominate the person that will take over from him, and they will give him the Senate ticket. You see, these are the games that they are playing. And then with the funds coming in, what do you want them to do? The opposition does not have that kind of funds. So they have to change their strategy because they cannot match them naira for naira, dollar for dollar. We have seen these things play out in previous elections. That, primaries were held in Lagos and somebody bought over all the hotels. And while others were giving naira, he was giving dollars. So you can't match that. You cannot match that. The only thing we can do is for these oppositions to come together. I agree that there is selfishness between the opposition leaders. They are supposed to come together now. This is the time to forget whatever you are going to gain. Come together. Look at the candidate that is credible. You see, let me say it succinctly. The fear of Obi is the beginning of wisdom in this next election.
Well,
so if they can come together and say, okay, let's give this guy the ticket. Let's find a credible person from the north that will be his vice. I'll tell you that there's going to be a challenge.
I mean, you've said quite a couple of things, but one thing I think that stood out here is you said categorically that the opposition might not be able to go toe-to-toe when it comes to funding with the ruling party, and for that reason, maybe they need to sort of form a strong merger. But I would also, direct the same question to Professor Kenneth. Do you think this is the case? Once we return from this break, stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, before we, of course, wind up for tonight, Professor Mweke, just a quick one to you directly. Do you think, taking a cue from what Professor Nna did say, do you think that in terms of resources, the opposition cannot match the ruling party?
Of course, where will they match them ordinarily? But again,
so what strategy can they use? What strategy would you suggest as an alternative?
Yes, you can have all the money in the world, But like I want to say, and continuously would say, that I blame more the people. Because if something has happened to you before, severally, and same thing is happening to you again and again, then you can't learn your lessons. How many are the politicians? How many are they? How many are they? So in 2023, Obi didn't spend money to garner the kind of votes that he did. It's about Nigerians coming out in their numbers, in deciding to change their situation. And I believe that in 2027, Nigerians can even do it better by coming out in their numbers, even if transmission of election results not mandatory anymore. Hybrid, what I call hybrid, because they are looking for soft landing to manipulate the process. But if Nigerians come out in their large numbers, as much as they did in 2023, even more, then it will be difficult for any of them, no matter the amount of money that they have, that they will be able to change the results.
But Professor, because we are really, of course, trying to manage time, I'm going to just put it to you directly, and I want a straight-up answer. Do you think Nigerians still have confidence in the system to say, you know what, given what we saw in 2023, they have the confidence to come out in numbers to say, in 2027, we are coming out to vote? Is that confidence still there?
The confidence is not there right now because the strategy is not so clear, and who to fly the flag is not also so clear.
All right.
And then that trust, is completely lost.
All right.
From Nigerians. But if that ticket is given to P2B, all right, Nigerians can support that movement again.
I'm sorry, I need to butt in because, of course, we won't allow for campaigns, right? So let me just direct the same questions to Professor.
You are not talking about campaigns, but they are busy doing more than campaigns. We are not campaigning, but we're talking about somebody who is prepared for leadership. So all of them who have gathered in a form of opposition should just step down and allow Obi to run.
All right, thank you very much. Professor Ona, what's your take also in 30 seconds? Is there the confidence there?
Yeah. My take is that the opposition should come together. I said it before, swallow their pride and give the ticket to somebody they feel that can match the ruling party, not naira for naira now, but ideology for ideology, because the current ruling party have shown that what they are there for is to grab and grab and grab. I've not seen any clear-cut strategy from them. So somebody that can lead Nigeria to Eldorado, and he did it in 2023 when they said they didn't have structures. Now that there's a little bit of structure, I think they should give him the mandate and let them come out and tell us what they're going to offer.
Professor Ona, thank you so much. Because we're really trying to manage time. Quickly, Marcel, your take. 30 seconds.
I think Nigerians can do it again, but they need that consolidated front in which to fight. So if you are going into a war and you are not aligned your energy into one direction, you are shooting in different direction, then you're probably just wasting your time. So the opposition will need to come together as a team and have a targeted hit. If they keep shooting in different directions the way they are, then the election is as good as won by the ruling party. And one thing we might also know is that voting is one thing, protecting your vote is another thing, and fighting institutional corruption that manipulates vote is another thing. So if the opposition really, really wants to get into power, they need to look across board and get themselves, prepared for the battle ahead.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you so much for your time. Marcel Ngugbehi is the Director General of the Directorate of Mobilization and Integration Labour Party. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Professor Simeon Una, political analyst, and also Professor Kenneth Nweke, Professor of Politics and Governance. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure once again. Thank you for your time.